So thank you, Deborah, for joining us for today's Day in the Life webinar. Nice to have you with us.
No, pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
So we're going to chat to you a little bit about your experience as a Salesforce Supermum. And I think it would be really great for you to start off by telling us where you are now and what you do. And then we will track back and talk a little bit about how you got there and your experience of getting there.
Okay, perfect. So I'm presently working with Validity, and Validity is a Salesforce ISV partner. My role with them is a customer success manager, and I cover the EMEA and APAC region. So part of the role as a customer success manager is dealing with the existing clients, so doing the renewals with them, and then obviously also working with new clients, demonstrating the products that we have, and our products all work with Salesforce. So we have a very powerful tool set of data manipulation tools to be able to tidy, companies' data, Salesforce systems. So, I'll probably go through that in a bit more detail, but that's an overview as to what my role is involved in.
Great. And how long have you been doing that now?
I joined them in February, so just over 7 or 8 months. So, it was I think, what it's like whenever you join any new job, there's a huge learning curve, and you're like, oh my goodness, literally thrown in the deep end. And I think, it's like going on calls with clients and doing live demos, and anticipating all these technical questions clients are going to throw at you. And it's definitely a lot to take in, especially with the products range that we've got, which are highly technical, and you really need to understand what you're doing.
So it's been quite a big learning curve.
Yeah, massive learning curve. And I think that's the same as like when you're doing the Salesforce Supermums program. When you first start, it's like, oh my goodness, I know when I first started the program, it felt like I was learning a different language, like French or German. It's just great to be able to have a foundation and have a structure and know what you're doing and being able to ask questions. And I think that's what, I like most about the program with regards to being able to have a structure and know what I was doing.
We're going to talk a little bit more about the program because I think people who are listening to the webinar will want to know about that. The structure, we will get into that in a bit more detail shortly. But tell us a bit about your day to day or week to week, if you like, kind of what kind of things you're doing, where you work and how you work. A lot of people want to retrain in something like Salesforce so they can get some flexibility with their work and have a few more options. So it'd be good to know if this change has done that for you, for example.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, these changes open up loads of doors for me. I think with regards to, the company that I've joined, Validity, they're a startup. They started last year in 2018 and have just been growing rapidly. They started through the acquisition of a Salesforce ISV, which was one of the top ISVs on the App Exchange, called Demand Tools or CRM Fusion. And then they acquired another company called Bright Verify, which is an email verification tool. And part of the email verification tool is it connects to Salesforce. So when users are inputting a contact or a lead into the Salesforce system, they can validate the email address at the point of entry. So they can see whether it's a valid or invalid email address. And then after that, Validity purchased more companies that connect to Salesforce. The recent purchases in the last 2 months have been a company called GridBuddy, and that is where you can create grids in Salesforce, and they sit on you. It's an app in your Salesforce system, and what it does is it shows you a live, a single view of Salesforce. Instead of having 20 Salesforce pages open, you can do it all in one page, and you can go in and manipulate and make changes to the data, and make 20 to 50 or even more changes, and hit save, and you do it all on a single page. So I think with regards to the company that I've joined, it's really exciting. It's, like I mentioned, it's very fast moving. I think on my day-to-day role, what I'm doing, there's a lot of variety. So, I joined them as a customer success manager, like I mentioned, and dealing with the existing clients. And, as Validity have been purchasing more and more companies, our bundles have been getting bigger and bigger with our offerings to our clients. So, you know, part of my role is engaging with the clients, you know, who are normally the Salesforce admins or the Salesforce managers. You know, a lot of the time these clients have been using our product for a number of years and are very passionate about the products. So, you know, it's, you know, checking in with them, you know, finding out how they've using the products, you know, letting them know about new products. And, you know, identifying, you know, what they're looking at. So you'll be doing live demos, you know, with a client, you know, going on to, you know, and a demo can be quite nerve-wracking at first because you're like, oh my goodness, is everything going to work and, you know, all run smoothly. And, you know, it's very different when you are working in a demo environment. So, you know, and then it's also kind of anticipating, you know, what type of questions are the clients going to ask. But I think, you know, with regards to that, you literally just have to throw yourself into it. And, you know, the first one's always a bit nerve-wracking, but the more you do it, the more comfortable you start becoming. And, you know, and the more you just, you know, constantly keep learning. So, you know, that's really my day-to-day. Yeah, definitely. So that's really my day-to-day role. You know, also in the evenings, I'm, you know, I try and go to at least 1 or 2 Salesforce meetup groups. You know, the reason why I tend to enjoy going to the meetup groups is because, you know, with Salesforce, there's just so many new things and you can't possibly learn it all. But I tend to enjoy going to the meetup groups to obviously, first of all, see a lot of the friends, and I think, you know, you kind of become part of the Salesforce, you know, Ohana family. But it's also just to learn about new functionality. Like, you know, the last meetup group I went to, I realized that I could now work with Lightning, you know, instead of having a white background, I could work with it in a black background. And, you know, I knew one of my guys at the office loved everything in a black background. Microsoft Office was in black background. So I went back and said, oh, did you know this? No. And he's very technical. So, you know, he loved it. Now, you know, he's got it in a black background. But also, you know, with regards to when you close an opportunity, you can have confetti coming down the screen. So it's more those little things. So, you know, I think that's why I tend to enjoy going to the groups, because I always come back and I've learned something new or I'm inspired. You know, the London woman. Yeah.
I was going to say, let's talk a little bit more about that. So to introduce people who are new to the Salesforce world and who maybe are looking at this for the first time. And we mentioned a few words there like Ohana, and quite often when we're talking about Salesforce, we talk about the community and the ecosystem, and they're quite strange words sometimes to associate with kind of a big corporate brand. So, but I personally think it's one of the really great things about getting into Salesforce is this sense of community that it offers. Do you want to just explain a little bit about that for us and your experience of it? And what
I mean, I think with regards to my experience, I think, you know, a lot of the time when you are doing this course, you know, you're entering a whole new world. And I think it's always nerve-wracking. You know, I've been to various things where you kind of, you know, it wasn't Salesforce related, but it was maybe networking events. And, you know, you'd walk in and the atmosphere was really uncomfortable and you're like, oh my goodness, I really want to talk to people. You know, it's just that really awkwardness. Whereas I think when I attend the Salesforce groups, you know, everyone's just so happy, hi, and it's just such a different environment. I was like, oh my goodness, you know, you just kind of literally, like, you know, you're mentioning about the Ohana, you just feel part of the family. And, you know, every time you go to the groups, it's got such a warm feeling, and, you know, you just can go up and talk to everyone. And I think the great thing is when you are going to these groups, you've got something in common. You know, you're all in Salesforce in some way or another. So it does make it a lot more easier to be able to talk to people because you've got the similar interests.
And they're not just all in London, right? They're all over. No. There's like regional groups and special interest groups as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a leader on the Salesforce Reading group. But, you know, I love, you know, there's the London Women in Tech group. There is the London Admin group.
Which is tomorrow night.
Yeah, which is tomorrow night, which I just, you know, an RSVP for, because I was hoping to make it, but my week's quite a busy week with regards to events and stuff, so it's just going to be too difficult to try and go into it. But there are groups in all different areas. There's a Bristol group, there's a Manchester group, there's a there's a group in Basingstoke. You know, these groups are starting to come up everywhere. And, you know, I know with the Reading group, you know, we've only probably got maybe about 10 or 15 people that come to the group. But, you know, it's brilliant. You know, as you know, the London Admin group has actually been going for 5 years, and on the 17th of October they've got their 5-year birthday party.
Oh, nice.
And they've now got their numbers up to 100. So these other groups are starting to grow. Like, I'm definitely noticing the numbers are starting to grow as more people are aware of the groups. and you know, it's great to kind of go there and see people and have pizza and have, you know, a couple of drinks and just mingle and, you know, find out what people are doing and what their role is
Yeah,
in Salesforce. And
because I
often
think
the great thing is you could also find roles potentially from it with regards to networking with people.
yeah, well, I always say that when I'm speaking to people who are interested in the course, actually, the networking side of thing, and especially through social, even social networking as well, and social media, like there's lots of great opportunities to find out about roles and get spotted through those kind of channels as well, which is really good. But
Yeah,
definitely when you kind of become part of this Supermums, if you join one of our courses, you definitely become part of the Supermums community, and we aim to develop that community, but you are buying into this wider Salesforce community as well. And so that is actually one of my favorite things about doing, becoming part of Salesforce. So
yeah, and you also get great friendships, I think, through it. So, I mean, you know, we've had, you know, mums doing the course who are great friends. You know, I had a guy who did the course with me, and he and I meet up every month, you know, so it's just, you know, it's just entering a whole new world with lots of exciting things.
yeah, and it's a really
And
supportive network, especially for people who are new to the industry or new to being back at work if you haven't been in work for a
yeah.
little while, right? Yeah.
And I think
So
also, you know, with regards to going back to, you know, kind of going more to the Supermums course, you know, when I was doing the Supermums course, you know, I was on the second cohort, so it only like literally just started. And, you know, I'm somebody who kind of like, I ask a lot of questions, so I really want to understand what I'm doing. And, you know, I used to network really closely with my other colleagues doing the course, and we'd be asking questions and bouncing off each other. And if we got stuck, being able to ask. And I think, you know, that's the great thing about the supportive network, like you're mentioning. You're not doing the
yeah,
course alone. You've got people out there who can help you, people who've done the course, but also, you know, I think you get the most if you work really closely with your colleagues and don't, you know,
exactly.
and, you know, from my point of view is I needed to talk to other people and understand what I was doing. And I
Yeah, so
found
for
it so
those
enjoyable.
who are thinking about doing the course, we do have a new this year actually, Salesforce community built on Salesforce, obviously, a Salesforce Supermums community. And that's a really great kind of portal to get to know your peers, to communicate with each other, where we keep lots of information, where you can go to ask and answer questions as well, because you'd be surprised how quickly you can learn and help each other out with the homework tasks and all that sort of thing. So let's talk a little bit in more detail about the course itself and your experience of it. So let's start right back at the beginning, way back when. Why
Okay.
did you decide to go for the course? What kind of?
I had come from a sales and recruitment background, and I just realized I didn't want to do recruitment. You know, I was coming up to 40, well, I was probably about 38, 39 at the time, and I was thinking, well, people nowadays are working till they're about 70. So I'm calculating, oh, that's the next 30 years. And I'm like, well, I don't really want to carry on doing this for the next 30 years. And I think also, you know, I have a young family. And my children could do more things technically than myself. So I was like, okay, I need to probably start pushing myself. And, you know, I came across the course on LinkedIn in November 2016. And, you know, I saw that and I thought, it looks nice. And, you know, it kind of probably planted the seed. And then I came across the article again in January 2017. And I was working from home that day, and my husband was behind me, and I said to him, well, look at this course, you know. I think it's something that I can do. It's structured and it sounds interesting, and I know Salesforce, you know, I know CRM systems are really good. Because I'd been recruiting in the ERP CRM space, so I had come across Salesforce. And so, you know, he said, well, we use Salesforce, it's brilliant. So, you know, I had his support, and I was like, okay, I've got nothing to lose. So I inquired about the course with Heather. And at the time of my inquiring to do the course and, you know, finding out about the course, she mentioned to me that they had a role working with economic change as head of customer success. So she said to me, well, do you want to, you know, I signed up to do the course, and then then a couple of, you know, maybe 2 weeks later or so, I joined economic change as the head of customer success, and was involved in working, you know, on the economic change side, but also on the Salesforce Supermum side. So I joined them working 3 days a week. and then I was doing the course 2 days a week. So, and being a mum
Right.
of 3, so trying to juggle everything, you know, spinning lots of plates. And
Just to
you know,
interject there, for anyone who doesn't know, Economic Change is a Salesforce consulting partner, and they specialise in implementing Salesforce for charities. And it was actually the organisation that incubated the Supermums project. So we're our own independent organisation now, but we were grown and developed and founded by Heather, who is the MD of Economic Change. So that's where that kind of link is. And we still work very closely with them because they are the people who sort out all our work experience, which we'll come to shortly, I'm sure.
yeah, so you know, so being involved with regards to, you know, growing the program, I think it was quite difficult when I first did the course, because obviously I was, you know, I was doing the course, but I was also working for the company. So I think from my point of view, I felt even more pressurized. Like, I can't ask people in the company these questions because they're going to think I'm stupid. So I used to lean on my peers more with regards to being able to understand how everything worked, and, you know, understanding all the different lingos of accounts, contacts, opportunities. And now, you know, it comes second nature. But at the time, it was like trying to understand, you know, what the difference was, you know, between an object and all this different, you know, and customization and lightning and classic, all the terms that, you know, once you've been working within Salesforce and doing the Supermums course, you become familiar with.
Yeah, it's amazing how quickly you do pick it up as well. And that's why I speak to a lot of people on the phone who are very new to Salesforce. So I'm getting better at remembering to go back and explain things to people who haven't heard it yet, because it's such a world that you get into and you're speaking all day to other people who understand it. And it can seem a little bit intimidating from the outside, but I think that's one of the things that the Supermums course is really great at, is kind of bringing you into that gently, making sure we explain everything really fully from the very beginning.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I think what really enticed me the most about joining the course was the fact that it was a structured program. You know, I like to know that there was a structured program, and what really attracted me the most, to be fair, with the course was the fact that I was getting work experience. Coming from a recruitment background, I know that you can upskill into something, and you can get a certification, but if you haven't got any work experience, no one's going to employ you. So that was probably the biggest driver why I did the course, because I wanted that work experience, and, you know, I knew that work experience was going to be invaluable to me. So, you know, that was my huge drive.
A little bit more detail about your experience of work experience? Because I know often when I mention work experience, people have a very set image in their head of what they think work experience is, but our work experience is remote for a start.
Yeah.
So do you want to just talk a little bit specifically about your work experience?
Yeah, so I did work experience for 2 charities. And, you know, one of the charities, I was able to attend the meeting in the beginning, you know, when they were doing the design and scoping stage, and I was able to take the notes down and listen to the project managers, hear what the clients were looking for from the system and how they were wanting it to be built. And then the other one was all done remotely. So I kind of get given my workbook, you know, after the project manager had done the design and scoping session, and, you know, I would go back and do all the builds. So I would be creating, you know, page layouts, I'd be adding the fields, you know, and then, you know, adding formulas and, you know, customizing it to the way the client was looking, you know, for their Salesforce, you know, to be set up. And then obviously the project managers would go in and check to see whether you've done things correctly. You know, I think when I first started, I was trying to like understand this workbook, like, what am I doing? You know, I was trying to get your head around a workbook and then actually being able to put it in and build, you know, the Salesforce system. But, you know, having done the course and everything, you know, if you know, it's all structured. So the first 3 months is all the theory side, and actually, you know, doing the hands-on in a trailhead environment. So you're working on a developer org, whereas when you're doing your work experience, you're actually working on the client's org, and it's this lovely clean org, and you're like, oh my goodness, you know, I don't want to mess anything up. So, but the great thing is, you know, you had such supportive project managers. You could go and ask, you know, if you needed to do, you know, how to do something, you know, there was a lot of hand holding, and that's what I needed.
And did you find by the end, I know when I did my work experience, it was really satisfying and really confidence building as well?
Yeah, it was really satisfying, and I think it was great to, you know, see the impact that it was having with the clients. you know, that were suddenly, you know, who had never had any systems and just been using Excel spreadsheets, you know, how it was able to transform, you know, their lives. And also I think with regards to, you know, how many people became really passionate about the systems and, you know, wanting to make sure that they had all clean data going in there, and, you know, they had this lovely new system, and they wanted to keep it, you know, really nice
Yeah.
and
Did you
you know,
do
users.
as part of your work experience, did you do the bit where you trained them how to use it as well?
Yes, so we did the training with them. So we
Yeah,
taught them how
I
to
couldn't
use.
believe it when they said I would have to do that at the end to train someone else how to use Salesforce when I was finishing the course. That was really
Mm.
scary, but so amazing when you actually do it and you realize how much you've learned.
Yeah, and I think the beauty of it is also when you do the training with the client, because I did training with 2 clients, you know, you're doing it all virtually. You're like, wow, I can work virtually. Wow, I can have this flexibility. I can have all the things that really attracted me to the program in the beginning. And
Yeah,
you realize you don't need to be office based. And, you know, I'm lucky in the role that I'm doing at the moment. I get to work from home 2 days a week and 3 days in the office, which works, you know, well for me. And, you know, the days that I'm working from home, I actually get so much work done. Because when I'm in the office, I'm just, you know, you're in one meeting and it's
meeting.
not, you know, not as
Yeah,
productive as when you're working from home. But yeah, so I think, you know, just when you do the work experience and you're building the charities, you know, CRM system, you're doing it all remotely in your own time. So some people used to be doing it in the evenings, or, you know, during the day when the kids were at school. You know, there was no, you know, you had complete flexibility as to when you did the work. So you know, it
yeah,
just made
and
sense with regard to how you can have flexibility.
all our courses designed to be that way. That includes with things like the webinars as well. So when you sign up to the course, you get access to an online learning portal where all our resources are. And you can go in and watch the videos of the webinars at any time as well if you can't join them live. So yeah, the whole course
Yeah.
is super flexible and designed to be taken when you can do it. And now, actually, I think you were instrumental in bringing about the fact that all our trainees now have mentors as well, who
Mm-hmm.
who they can meet up with. I was lucky enough to have one when I did the course, which was she was fantastic, really great support, not just on the technical side, but as an introduction to Salesforce as well. So as well as the online learning and the work experience, we've got the mentors as well, which I found really,
Yeah.
really helpful.
No, that's great. Yeah, I think the mentors is a brilliant addition to the program. And I think, to be fair, the people that you know, that are in Salesforce, you know, they're so passionate about sharing their knowledge, and they, you
Yeah,
know, they're really eager to be able to become mentors. Also, one thing I was going to add with regards to what I really liked the most about the course in the beginning was when, you know, I'd watched the, you know, I'd been on the webinar and been on the live training, but when I was actually going back to do my homework, a lot of the time I would have the webinar on my screen, and I would be going back in to watch how they did things.
yeah,
So, you know, I think that's the beauty of also having the webinars all recorded, because you can kind of go back in and look at something in more detail and say, oh, how did they do that? Because a lot of the time when you are doing the training, you're going from one screen to the next, and it's just trying to, you know, understand how it all flows together.
yeah. I did exactly the same actually. I'd have the webinar playing on my tablet to the side, and I'd be trying to do the homework on the actual computer. So yeah, it's really handy having that resource.
Yeah, and I remember
Um,
in the middle of winter sitting doing trailheads in the car while my daughter was in gymnastics. So I think as a mom, you just end up becoming able to multitask, and you try and do
yeah,
some homework. You know, the great thing with regards to the homework is that everything's broken down. It'll say this will take you 15 minutes, this will take you 20 minutes, half an hour. So it's really easy to be able to juggle it.
yeah, doing
And
it.
a lot of the trailheads sometimes in the beginning are multiple choice. So it was a lot of reading. So if I was, you know, I wanted to do it where I was quiet and had no interruptions. So, you know, I think we're quite good
Yeah,
at being able to multitask.
we just mentioned Trailhead there. So for people new to Salesforce, do you want to just tell us what Trailhead is and why you like it?
Yeah, I mean, Trailhead is an interactive, you know, learning playground, and it's what Salesforce have created to be able to learn about the products. There's a lot to learn. I think there's over 500 trails that you can do. I'm just short, probably about 95, so I've got 5 more trails to do, and then I'm going to be
Oh,
at a ranger status.
yeah, and
Just
then
need
you
to
get your
find the time to
Supermums
do it.
hoodie.
I
When you
know,
get
I
100,
just need to
you
find the
get your
time
Supermum
to do it.
hoodie.
That's all my goal. By the end of the year. I could do it sooner, but Yeah, it's brilliant. So what you do is, you get a whole lot of trails to kind of do. Some of them are multiple choice, but then also some of the trails are interactive where you log into a developer org, and the developer org, it will point you step by step what you need to do, and you'd be building this as if you were building a CRM system or working in a CRM system, and then you would click submit, and you would see whether you've done it correctly because you'd pass and you get a little badge. So it was great
I like that,
when you got the badges. Yeah, so it was, oh, I've got another badge. It was great from that side. And to be fair, sometimes I even had trailheads which I wasn't able to complete. There would have been a problem with the developer org or things like that, but you just kind of push through it, and you work out what maybe you did you didn't do correctly when you were building it. So it's a great way to learn it.
Yeah, I've discovered loads of really interesting ones lately that are more around not just the Salesforce side, but things like career development and, lots of other soft skill kind of trailhead badges, as well as the technical side, which have been really interesting and really useful to look at as well. So it's a great place to go. And actually, you don't need to be enrolled on the course to go and have a look at it. If you want to get a feel of the kind of things that you might be learning on the course, then you can head to Trailhead and check it out now. It's a really great place to get a feel for Salesforce. So you love Trailhead, you got through the course, you did your admin exam. How was doing the exam? A lot of people get really worried about passing and failing an exam.
Yeah, the exam was probably one of the hardest exams I've done. I think the tricky thing with the exam, it's all multiple choice, and I think the way you really need to study for the exam, and you need to practice a lot of exams because the way the questions are asked is very Americanized, the thing with regards to the exam questions, you'd have two questions that would be right, two answers that would be right, and two answers that would be wrong. So it's always kind of juggling between the two answers that are right.
Which is the best answer, isn't it? Salesforce.
Yeah. So which one is the best? Because both of them you can do, but which one would Salesforce class is the best? And I think that's the first time I did the exam, I didn't really fully understand that, and then I think with regards to the pass rate, it's 65%. So it's quite a high, pass rate. And I think the nerve-wracking thing is when you hit submit, you find out then and there whether you pass or fail. So, it was quite nerve-wracking. I didn't pass the first time, but I did pass the second time because I'd learned a lot from the first time. And I think the funny thing is it's very easy just to go, oh, it didn't pass, let me just give up. But I think it makes you more determined to pass. And I think also when you talk to other people in the Salesforce environment, a lot of them haven't passed the exam first time. There are lots of Salesforce administrators that have never taken the exam. They're almost too scared to, it becomes sometimes a bit of a fear. So what I did to try and, we had a whole lot of people that were kind of almost becoming this, had built up this fear to kind of do the exam. So we started a study group, and we'd do it in the evening, and we did it over a 4 or 5 week period, and we'd all get delegated a certain amount of homework, and we'd all work together, and we'd go through exams and all share tips and advice. And funny enough, there were 10 of us in the group, and 9 of us passed the exam. So it was great being able to work together, and
and I think thanks to your experience, Supermums has now implemented kind of the little study groups, and we'll set them up on behalf of people to bring people together who are struggling on certain topics or want to look more into certain areas. Because I know that you did a study session for my cohort. Actually, you voluntarily ran one for the group that I was on. We did a study day in London where we actually met in person because a few of us could, which was really nice. And we had a little study session. And now we also get lots of past papers and things like that to practice. And there are some other places that we can direct people to do the mock exams as well. I'm doing a few of those at the moment, which is really, really good and really helpful.
Very brilliant. I think the thing with the exam is just not to give up and just go for it. You get the great thing is you get a discount code also on the Supermums program, so you can get a discount code, don't you? And also if you attend some of the Salesforce groups, you can get free certifications. So you can get a voucher for a free certification. Often they're giving away, free certifications. And there's some people who've got 15 plus certifications. So it does become quite addictive. I know, John, who was on the course with me, I think he's got about 3 or 4 certifications. So it does, start getting addictive with regards to getting the certifications, and, the more, knowledge is power. So you kind of start getting this addiction towards wanting to learn more.
I think that's what is great about Supermums is that, and someone else that had put this very eloquently, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to put it as eloquently, but it is great, especially for mums if you're returning to work, because there's some really great roles as an administrator out there that do offer this flexibility in terms of hours and in terms of place. But if you're, as and when you are ready, if you want to, the sky's the limit in terms of your career, in terms of certifications and different roles that you can take and different paths that you can take as well, no matter what your background. You could go into sales, you could go into the marketing side, go into the financial services side, you could go into the developer side. There's so many different opportunities once you get started, and that's what I think is really exciting about Salesforce.
Yeah, and you don't have to, like you said, you don't have to become a Salesforce administrator. There's so many companies that are using Salesforce, and often you come across a lot of jobs where they're saying, knowledge of Salesforce. So, even if you get it, just having that knowledge can really open a lot of doors for you.
Exactly.
So, it's great to be able to have, and, you might decide, oh, you really want to go down the admin route, or you might want to go down, the marketing route, the Salesforce marketing. There's just so many different areas to kind of go down. And it just opens up a whole lot of doors for you. And like you mentioned, it gives you, there are lots of clients out there that are happy to, offer the flexibility. And I think Salesforce themselves are really promoting, companies be more flexible, and being able to give people that, that work-life balance.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about that, about getting roles, because we do, part of our mission at Supermums is to make sure mums can get jobs. We're not just about the training, we're about training you so you can get a job, and we do have a recruitment team who are helping people to do that. But some people can be quite nervous about going for a role that's in a new industry. It can be quite scary if they haven't been at work for a little while. How did you feel about it, and how was that experience for you?
Well, I mean, part of my role was finding work for the Supermums and dads who did the course.
Yeah.
So, I was working with them. I did notice that a lot of people's confidence was quite low, and, they'd kind of almost built up a fear. And, some people had gaps where they hadn't worked for 7 years, sometimes even longer. And, they'd almost kind of like lost that belief in themselves. So what we did is, we started incorporating into the Supermums program, motivational speakers coming in. I'd work very closely with them with regards to their CVs, making sure they looked really good. And then obviously also, working with them with regards to what to expect from an interview. And, I think, when people haven't had interviews for a long time, a lot of the time when you do interviews, you do need to kind of have, some level of practice. I mean, you'll go into companies, go, oh, this isn't for me. And you'll go into companies and just love it. So, I think it's just kind of not being scared, and kind of not being scared to put yourself out there and to explore it, because often, there might be a role that on paper doesn't necessarily look like it's what you're looking for, but actually when you go there, it's like, oh, this is really exciting.
Just having an open mind to the opportunity. Yeah.
And I think sometimes, people just need that little bit of a push to kind of go and have a look, and, go for an interview, find out if it's of interest, if it's not. You really haven't lost, anything. So, and also sometimes, the more interviews you have, the more, your confidence starts building, and it was amazing just watching people being able to grow and actually get that belief back in themselves. And, I think that's what I love the most about, about my role, was just being able to see, people grow and find their voices, and just be excited about, what the future held. We had one of the mums did the course in Barcelona, and she actually landed up a job working for Salesforce themselves. And, they had a 7-stage interview process, and, we worked with her the whole process. And, she landed an amazing job. So
we actually have a day in the life webinar with her that you can go away and listen to. If you're listening to this one, you can head to the website and listen to Bruna's webinar where she talks about that process. Yeah, it certainly sounded quite intense, but she's loving it now. And it's given her exactly what she wanted in terms of her flexibility and how she gets to work around her family. So yeah, there's her story and lots more on the website. If people have enjoyed listening to you, they can find out some more stories there. But yeah, we're a bit over time already, but it has been great speaking to you. I guess just to close, is there anything, kind of any words of wisdom, I guess, that you would offer to anyone who's thinking about doing the course? What would you say?
I think with regards to doing the course is, you are investing in yourself, and, I think everyone is, you are worth it. And it is worth putting, investing in yourself to be able to do the course. I don't think there are many other courses out there that are supportive and as structured as this course. And, with regards to the amount of opportunities it opens up for you, it's, it's fantastic. I think, when I left, we almost had, more jobs than mums or people to fill the jobs. And, I think with regards to, Salesforce also supporting the program and talking at World Tour and going to Dreamforce, there's such a big demand and an interest in the people that are doing the program. But I think also what it also in employers like is that you've gone and you've invested in yourself to improve yourself and to upskill. And also the way technology is nowadays, it is so fast moving. I went with Supermums to Vienna last year, and I was at the European conference, and there was such a big drive with regards to how people, there are lots of skills of becoming, and it all dated. There are lots of, technology is just changing things, and that people need to be able to invest in themselves and upskill. And I think with regards to this program, it's brilliant. It's flexible. You can, it's a part-time course, and you can juggle it around your lifestyle. And it is 6 months of hard work, but it's definitely worth it. And yeah, so my thing is probably more investing in yourself.
Great. Well, thank you so much for those words of advice and for spending the evening chatting with us. We're going to leave it there. All it remains is for me to say that everyone who's been on this webinar will get an email shortly with some links to some more information and a way to book in a call with me if you want to chat about your personal circumstances, and there'll be a link to the application form in there as well. And this recording, I know a few of you joined late there, so it will be available on our website as well. A recording of the webinar will be available on our website for you to catch up on. So thank you so much, Deborah. It was great to speak to you. We'll leave you to get back to the rest of your evening now. Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thanks, Abby.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.